And I was like, I have to go. I have to be there. I have to get that juicy stuff into me. I can't help but feel that sort of like all of those environments in which you felt othered and broken and deficient sort of throughout your teenagedom or pre-teenagedom informed that moment of all of a sudden you found your place where your particular brand of crazy, unusual, special, freak, interesting, whatever you want to call it, was what was required for that moment. You were in the circus and you were, all of a sudden, your clown fit right in. Those suckers, they wasted 4 years of their life. The Working Actor NYC, that's Patrick Richwood.
Benjamin House.
This episode of The Working Actor NYC may contain profanity and some adult concepts, so please use your discretion.
You know what we've never yapped about, though, and I thought this was interesting. I looked at all of the podcasts that we did last season.
World peace.
We've never talked about world peace, and we've never talked about training as an actor. And I
thought you meant training, like I'm training up to New Haven for the day.
And really, training is part of my foundational origin story as a working actor in New York City, because I would not be here unless I had decided in the late 1990s that I desperately wanted to study at HB Studio. And because Uta Hagen's Challenge for the Actor changed my life as a performer. Yeah. And I was like, I have to go. I have to be there. I have to get that juicy stuff into me. So I, as a confession, I never did full-time training before I started performing. I just started doing it and picked up the dance classes and the voice classes as I went and the acting classes as I went. And then while I was performing in Australia, I was reading Challenge for the Actor and thought, that's what I want to do. I want an actual system and a method and a technique, and let me go and immerse myself in that for a year. And that's what brought me to America. Then America gave me a green card and a husband, and here we are. 26.
You get a husband with a green card now?
Yeah. Well, if you're lucky, if they find you straight off the boat, then you do.
I didn't know they were handing them out. First of all, you should never use the phrases. You should never speak of Uta Hagen and getting that juicy stuff inside you ever again.
She was into it. Come on, that was a sexy lady.
She wanted you.
She never stopped being curious. I always got this impression that she was open-minded to see what it was that she could discover from this particular class, from these students, from this moment. And I sort of feel that way as an actor as well. Like if you and I have discussed this before, but if I ever feel like I've nothing to learn from a situation, I'm instantly bored. Right. You know, and I'm looking for the exit door. And I think that's why ongoing. So we have to differentiate. Obviously, this applies to training, which is what we're going to talk about. But I sort of feel as though we kind of need to differentiate between two fundamental types of training. And one is foundational training that one might get from a BFA or an MFA.
Or even in elementary, even in primary school.
And ongoing training, which is what one pursues after one has left that formal, systematic training behind and has entered the industry as a performer. And then you keep going, you keep learning. So I just wanted to sort of differentiate between foundational training and ongoing training as a sort of a...
I love that. I think that for me, I was one piece that was missing I never got any formal training, foundational training or ongoing training until much later.
When you became a full-time performer, I mean, it didn't take you a second to land in the national tour of Pirates of Penzance. And all of a sudden you were performing with people, many of whom I'm going to say had gone to college and gotten degrees in performing and acting and all the rest of it. Did you feel in any way, so here's the interesting thing to me. Did you feel like, oh God, I don't have what they have and I'm behind and I need to catch up? Or did you feel like those suckers, they wasted 4 years of their life and here I am at the same level as them and we're getting the same paycheck? You know what I mean?
Well, that would make a really good story, but you want to know the truth?
What was the truth?
Neither.
Oh,
I was just so completely in hog heaven,
yeah, right.
doing what I love 8 times a week. When I
8 times a week.
discovered
They
that I was
paid you
gonna
to
get
do it,
paid,
Patrick. They paid you to
paid
do it.
big money to go production contract to go, which was then even better than it. I mean, it was just an amazing
I mean,
opportunity.
it
And
was 1938. The dollar went a long way in those days.
that's right. It stretched a long way. This was before the New Deal. I was getting big signals from the creative team. You're doing this right. They were putting me front and center all the time, and
Yeah.
just kind of they were really validating me in creative ways. And they're like, these are these big Broadway people. So that only added to my sense of like, oh, I'm doing it right. Oh, because I would have done it this way anyway, but I'm so glad it's right.
Right. I can't help but feel that sort of like all of those environments in which you felt othered and broken and deficient sort of throughout your teenagedom or pre-teenagedom informed that moment of all of a sudden you found your place where your particular brand of crazy, unusual, special, freak, interesting, whatever you want to call it, was what was required for that moment. You were in the circus and you were all of a sudden your clown fit right in.
And people actually wanted it and were celebrating it and wanted to pay for it. And it was like, oh, this is what they want on Broadway? Oh, sign me up.
Yeah. So there are so many programs acting programs and musical theater programs that actors and students can go to these days. And I can't help but feel as though they may or may not be better than others. I don't know. I'm not carrying a yardstick. But I feel as though there are some performers who graduate from college and kind of don't want to leave that experience behind, because very few colleges genuinely prepare actors for the small business that we all run, which is ourselves, which is being an actor. And I sort of feel as though that is a whole new set of skills that very few colleges, acting training programs teach.
I also think that colleges and business and acting schools and programs we're going to see a lot more of the business of show being taught. Not just by sub teachers that come in for high end schools, but like really that's going to be on the curricula, because I think everybody's clear that everybody's starting to make their own stuff, their own content. And even the old guard are like, well, we're just going to have to have classes on that. We're going to have to offer that. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of that in the coming few years. I'm sure there's a lot more of it than there was.
It's just really fascinating to me that you and I are both working actors who've been doing it for decades. Neither of us studied this stuff. We just did it. Do you know what I'm saying? I sort of find that interesting.
Well, that's what I mean about training. It's like if you're trainable, you can kind of get training wherever you go, but you have to be trainable. You have to be coachable, as my friend George would say.
Well, that's an interesting point. I sort of feel a little bit like, is the trap of going to a foundational acting program is that once you graduate, you're like, nope, don't need to learn anything else. Did all of that. Now I just get on with it. And when things don't happen the way you think they're going to, perhaps, you get stuck in this sort of like, no, my training is not the problem. But you've sort of closed your mind to the idea that there's more that you need to learn, because
you
paid tens of thousands of dollars to, for 4 years to get somebody else to give it to you.
Yeah. I mean, I look at my first contract or my first few contracts as my college. I really do. I know it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not. So I didn't pay tens of thousands of dollars to get gold training. I got paid to get gold training. That was super lucky, super fortunate. I got from those contracts something that they never got in college and were craving the whole time they were in college. They wanted practical experience. They wanted to be doing 8 shows a week with people they liked and didn't like, no matter what. They wanted to learn the protocol. They wanted to learn the business.
So then as a working actor, say, so we've left foundational training behind, and now we're talking about you're in the business. Do you still go to class? Like, when was the last class when did you start going to class? Because you said you didn't come to it until later.
Yeah, I didn't come to it until much later. I was in my late 20s when I started working with a teacher named Diana Castle. It started on her couch in her living room in Hollywood, and it built from there. And every Tuesday night, I was there with a very strong core of people that mostly remained the same people for 7 years.
Wow.
And it was a really unique class because you would work on scenes.
Yeah.
2-person scenes, and you would be assigned the material. You wouldn't pick it out.
Oh, okay.
You were not allowed to talk to each other about it. You were not allowed to rehearse with each other. You were not allowed to discuss staging. You were not allowed to, unless you were in the presence of the teacher in session.
So you could only work on it
on your own in a vacuum.
Interesting.
I could count on one hand the times I've been afforded rehearsal with my colleagues for a film, unless it's right on the set.
Well, yes.
Well, that's essential, because if I walk into an audition fortified with the knowledge that I know I have done my homework and all I have to do is lock on with the eyes of the reader, and those are the eyes of my lover, because I've done the work. It doesn't matter if the reader's bad or good. It doesn't matter if they're male or female. It doesn't matter if they're old or young. Those eyes are the eyes I'm in love with. And I know because I've done the work.
It's interesting because you're talking about this and you sort of do all of the work on your own. And it's really what the Uta Hagen found exercises were about, which is what I studied, was all about.
And so did that teacher.
Working at home on your own to be able to recreate truthful human behavior so that you could apply different circumstances to it or whatever. But the whole point of those exercises was so that you were giving yourself an opportunity to practice recreating truthful human behavior under imaginary circumstances when you're not booked and
when it's not real
and in rehearsing in a play. That was the whole point of those exercises. So it's interesting to me that even though they were different approaches, because one was scene study and one was exercises, but they're both about making putting the responsibility onto the actor.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because we're always talking about
keep working when you're not being paid for it, when you're not working.
Yeah. It's like dancers go to the bar, musicians play,
exactly right.
Do their scales, every singers do their stuff. Everybody has the painters paint, right? What's our tools? Our tools are, yes, our voices and our bodies, absolutely, but most of all, our imaginations.
Right. So your sort of one of your earliest big breaks was multi-camera with a studio audience, no?
Yeah, that was multi-camera with a studio audience.
So that's interesting to me because in a way that is an artificial theater.
Yes, but
do you know
I may
what
have
I mean?
told you this story, but yes, I do. And I may have told you this story, but having come from, I had by that time been doing about 10 years of professional theater, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was living in New York, and the producer of that show was Gary Marshall. And Gary said to me stop me if I've told you this story, said to me after a run through of our first of our pilot.
Yeah.
He said, you're playing the box. And I was like, excuse me. And he's like, you're playing the box. Don't play the box. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're used to the theater and you're playing the audience. And that's too much for the camera. Don't play the audience. Ignore the audience. Pretend they're not there. I said, how do I do that? He said, well, it's like if you were in a theater, you wouldn't play just the box, right? You'd play the whole theater, right? I go, yeah. He goes, well, the camera's the theater.
Just
not
the
camera.
Audience. Yeah.
So he didn't mean play to the camera. He just meant give it to the camera, but don't give it to the audience. The audience is going to love it. They're like voyeurs.
Oh, you have never told me that. And I sort of find that super fascinating. That's kind of like one of the keys, isn't it? Because we don't get taught that anymore.
No, that was a beautiful lesson.
So then I am a firm believer that one of the key benefits of ongoing training for working actors is to keep the instrument sharp in the ways that we've already discussed, that you're sort of practicing, truthful behavior under imaginary circumstances when you're not employed in the run of a show. But I also get a great deal of satisfaction, but also momentum from going into a class where I know I'm not going to be good at it. I was terrified of improv. And so I just threw myself into classes at Upright Citizens Brigade and started learning improv because I was terrified of it. I was like, I'm not witty. I'm not naturally funny. Like, that's horrifying. Like, to just stand on the stage and make people laugh. God, please shoot me.
I know, it's such a shame. I've been meaning to tell you for a long time that how not witty you are, and not how you don't have any.
You're not shocking me. You are not shocking me.
It's so funny. That is so funny.
I said, like, I don't know where it comes from within me, but because I guess, okay, if I really try to analyze it right here in this moment, because I know I'm good at acting, I am prepared to throw myself in the deep end of an area where of a corner of acting where I think I'm not going to be good at it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I know I can always swim back to the shallow end.
I think, okay. All right. Can I insert something right here?
Oh my God.
From outside here over
Patrick's
to you.
Patrick's going to insert something. Oh.
Jesus. So wrong.
Penny.
So I think that's so funny, because out of this illusion that you don't have the confidence, so you're going to jump in, comes an actual riddle. It's a conundrum, because you have to have confidence to do that in the first place. Part of what makes actors is, amongst all the many different styles of self-expression that actors have, myriad, right? Infinite. They have to have courage. They might be terrified, and they might say to you, I have no courage. I'm always terrified. Meryl Streep famously, imposter syndrome, every show, every movie, right? Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but you obviously have confidence because you walk through it anyway.
Right.
So even if it's not perceived at the moment, there it is, supporting you. And that's you. And
well,
that's
it's so just that by that time I had built up enough experiences of, this is going to be scary and uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill me. So I'm going to just keep stepping towards it. Right.
Yeah.
So by that, even though I was genuinely terrified of improv.
But you did it anyway. That's the definition of courage.
But I did it anyway. And
that's the definition of courage.
And I'm not going to pretend that I'm great at it, but it was also a question of, once I started doing it, I realized, oh, there's actually a system at play here that all I just have to do is implement the system.
So there's foundational training, like you said, and that's like sort of like when we lay the groundwork in school and everything. And then there's the
what I'm calling ongoing training.
Yes, but in between, there's the frying pan to the fire, right, that everybody experiences.
Transition,
I believe that happens in every business and every walk of life, but in particularly with the arts, it's particularly hard because in other businesses and professions, you really can train people to do the nuts and bolts. In our profession, it's the perception of the actor that so much of that is in other hands, which is why I brought up the acting class I did for 7 years, because that was all about teaching actors to be completely self-sufficient and self-reliant. Then you can really actually experience the person in the scene with you and actually just find it's not that you're figuring out the way it has to go, or that you're determining how. That's what so many acting classes are wasting time on. Actors get together and stage their scenes and pick out costumes. And it's crazy to me because you're not asked to do any of that in the real world ever at all. Not even a little, unless you want to direct. That's not any of your business, honestly. So until you get in there and collaborate, right, in rehearsal. So it's like, why are you messing around trying to present a scene that you're going to get an A in to the teacher in the class and going like this with your ego, instead of really actually digging in and going, what is there to learn here? I don't care if I fail. What is there to learn here? You know? And the funny thing is, if you do that, you're probably not going to fail, because you're probably the piece of work that you're doing is probably going to fly off the page, as I say, because you've transcended all the technical bullshit and gone to the place of, this is now your experience. Because our job is to create the illusion that the experience we're portraying is ours.
There are some takeaways for our listeners and for our viewers. If you have foundational training, good for you. If you don't have foundational training, who cares?
Good for you.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that, to me, I think the big takeaway from all of this is to say, as long as you stay curious, what about your craft? And really, this is all about craft. As long as you stay curious about your craft and say, where do I need sharpening? Where do I need curiosity? As long as that does not flip into, if I go to class, then I'm an actor. Because
right.
It's not a shield. A class is not a shield to stop you from getting out into the world, to stop you from getting into the audition room. It is all meant to guide you. So as long as your energy in your craft stays curious, get into it.
Definitely. Also, this episode has made me want to get back into a class, because two things. I don't want people left with from my story, whatever is left in when it's edited, if any, is that, yes, I believe in working on your work at home, on your own, and not being reliant on others to have to do that. I want to be able to have a really strong muscle. So when I'm handed a script, I can go shunk right in.
Yeah. You can start in on the work because it's not atrophied. It hasn't, the muscle is flexible and supple and ready to work.
And you can go deep fast.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse the expression. The other thing is, but part two of that is, but don't do that in a vacuum. Like, practice that, but have others, have an accountability, because that's essential too. We need our tribe. Class is great for building tribe. It's great for being inspired by others. It's great for feeling like you might inspire others too.
And it's not just about the craft. It does become about relationships and community. And you have a resource there for infrastructure questions. Do you know what I mean? It is.
Yeah, it just can't be a replacement. It can't be replaced. It's like a waiter job. You just can't. Don't let it be, if you get a job that's too comfortable, it's like, but then you won't want to go be an actor. Go be an actor.
Go be an actor.
Go be an actor. Why not? Join the circus. Come on. Come on, you guys. It'll be fun. It'll be so much fun.
We hope that you've gotten something out of this podcast episode. Wherever you are listening or viewing this, please rate, like, subscribe.
Check the things and write to us. Ask us questions. We love it.
Please comment. Hit us up on our social media. Send a slide into the DMs on The Working Actor NYC on Instagram or on YouTube or on TikTok. Wherever you come to find us, we're happy you're here. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Working Actor NYC.